Hello you guys, and thank you so much for tuning into my channel. So, I low-key feel like I should be putting on clown makeup on my face as I'm telling this story because I made a fool of myself in the pursuit of love. I honestly made a fool of myself in the pursuit of finding someone to be with. Now, in as much as I'm an independent person and I do quite well being by myself, if I am presented with the opportunity to be with somebody, I tend to go for it. You know what I mean? Like I obviously deep down inside my heart still want to find my Prince Charming. It's just my search or my standards or something has just been going wrong. So this guy, by the way, this video is not clickbait. The title is not clickbait. Although the guy in and of himself is not a Nazi, he is definitely, he wouldn't admit it, but he's part of the new wave of the alt-right. And I didn't understand this before I got to know him. And I don't think he understood the depths of his own racism or his own racist ideologies. So we're going to call this guy Liam. So how I met Liam, I was actually watching a video by Leah Bad, and I love my girl Leah. Like, she's, I don't want to say she's the reason this relationship started, but she's also the reason it ended. But yeah, I was on one of her videos, and then I commented, and she was talking about topping, and, you know, I commented and I said something, and Liam sees my comment, and, you know, he sees my picture, and he clicks on it, and he sees, oh wow, this girl has like a whole YouTube channel. So he watched some of my stuff, and in one of the videos that I had made, I mentioned that I was on a dating site. I'm not going to say the name of the dating site now because I don't want a repeat of this. I do not want a repeat of this. But he went on the dating site that I'd mentioned in one of my videos, and he purchased a subscription like for a month so that he could talk to me, which, you know, he could have just hit me up on Instagram and I would have responded, but I digress. So he sends me a message and he's like, hey, Christabel, I watched a couple of your videos. You know what these men say to us. He was like, oh, I think you're beautiful. I'd like to get to know you a little bit more. I purchased a subscription just to talk to you and whatnot. And I think that line hit me. You know what I mean? I'm someone like, my zodiac sign is Cancer. So I'm ruled by emotion and sentimentality and anything related to the heart. That is me in a nutshell. So I was like, he did this grand romantic gesture. And I'm moved by grand romantic gestures. So I started talking to him, and plus he was hella cute. Girl. So, you know, when I meet somebody, especially somebody virtual, I would rather video chat with them because I want to make sure that they are a real person and the pictures they're using are their actual pictures. And, you know, when you talk to somebody with video chat or whatever, you get a sense of who they are, you get a sense of like their cadence, you just get their whole vibe. And oh my gosh, he was so nervous. And I'm yeah, like I'm very flirtatious when I talk to these guys. I'm very flirtatious. So obviously I was flirting, trying to get to know this guy, and he was just very nervous. But we decided after the video call to do voice calls because they were easier for him. Uh, so with the voice calls, we would talk, gosh, like I spoke to this guy maybe like 2 times a week for like 3 hours, and 3 hours would go by like 2 minutes. And we would talk about everything under the sun. Now, he did let me know from the word jump that he was conservative. Now, I'm a libertarian, however, I am leaning way to the left. I'm about as far left as you can be while still being libertarian, if that makes sense. I genuinely believe in a lot of my political ideologies are liberal. They just are. But at the same time, I don't have an issue with people that have conservative mindsets. You know what I mean? I think there should be a space for all of us at the dinner table. Now, he told me he was conservative, but way in the right, like as far right as you could go. And you may ask yourself, like, how is it possible that somebody who is alt-right to be attracted to a black transgender woman? And I mean, honey, baby girl, slave masters used to sleep with their slaves all the time. So just because you hate a particular race doesn't mean that you do not find the person attractive. And it doesn't mean that you don't want to use them for your own sexual gratification. Now, that's not to say that that's what he wanted, but he definitely had a preference and he liked black girls. But he had all these fucked up ideologies about black people. And I remember when we became Facebook friends, I think the first red flag was when we were talking about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. So we were talking about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, and I mentioned I love Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, but I made mention of the fact that Prince Harry had in his youth at a Halloween party dressed up as a Nazi. And Liam, he found no problem with that. He was like, well, why is that even an issue? He was a young man at a costume party. Surely he should be allowed to dress in whatever costume that he seems fit. And I was like, you know what? I hear what you're saying, and I respectfully disagree on the basis that if you go into the history of the British royal family, Queen Elizabeth's, the current queen, her uncle married a woman who was a Nazi sympathizer, and her uncle was a Nazi sympathizer. Queen Elizabeth's husband's sisters, so her sister-in-laws, were all married to Nazis. So we're talking about somebody who, Prince Harry, somebody who is directly, or whose family was directly linked to people that were in that party. So for him to dress up in a Nazi costume is very, very inappropriate. And also, given the fact that, yes, he was a young man, but he was also a public figure. So it was just very, very inappropriate. And Liam just didn't get it. He wouldn't get these things. And I thought, it's cool, it's chilled. We can just disagree and it's perfectly fine. And I'm somebody who, I kind of like having debates with people, and I like hearing people's different ideas and finding out why they think the way that they think. And he would often bring up issues that he had with black people. So this is now number 2. God is now in his infinite wisdom giving me red flag number 2. In his infinite wisdom, he would bring up issues that he had with black culture. And, his issues were primarily focused on the Reformation movements, like Black Lives Matter. He had a major, major issue with Black Lives Matter. He was adamantly against it, to the point he defended the killers of Breonna Taylor. He defended that. Even as I'm saying this, I'm like, Christabel, what were you thinking? And the thing is, I remember we had this one conversation where we were talking and he brought up Charlottesville. Now, I'm not an American. Yes, I've lived in America and I've worked in America, but I'm not an American. So I can only give my opinion from an outsider's perspective, but I'm not an American. Liam is also not an American, and he's never even been to the US. So he was talking about Charlottesville and defending Charlottesville, and I had to sort of step in and say, do you understand the context of what happened in Charlottesville? You need to understand where Charlottesville is. It's in the South. I think Charlottesville is in North Carolina. It's a city that is steeped in prejudice. There is a long history with the Confederacy, and all of these anti-Black white supremacist things are linked to Charlottesville, and a lot of the people who were involved in Charlottesville were in fact white supremacists and were in fact racist. Does he not lose it with me? Does Liam not start yelling at me over the phone? And I can have I can have a disagreement with somebody and I can share my opinion, and I'm not somebody who yells or screams or does this whole thing. The way I'm speaking to you guys now is how I speak when I'm disagreeing with somebody. It's very subdued. And he just lost it on me and starts, I think I was saying something, and I just remember him being like, just zip it, shut up. And he just went on, so he shuts me up, and he basically is like, what did he say? That got me all, yeah, I cried. I'll be honest, I cried. That got me all teary-eyed. He literally, the one thing that he said when he was going off on me, he was like, well, I don't even care. I don't have a personal investment in this. It's not something that affects me. And the point that came across, or how I interpreted his message, this may not have been his intention, but how I interpreted his message was, because he is Caucasian, it does not affect, because he is Caucasian, sorry, I had to pause, it does not affect his life in the slightest. And whether or not white supremacy or racism or Black Lives Matter affects me means nothing to him. And just the way in which he passed that message on, I mean, there's a way of relaying your ideas or your opinions in a way where you're not attacking somebody, where you're not yelling at somebody. And he literally, this guy was heated and he was angry at me, and I literally broke down, because I have a lot of trauma related to racism. I have a lot of trauma that I've experienced related to racism, and South Africa is not the most liberal place on the planet. Let's just be real. Now, of course, he apologized, but I think that should have been the moment. That should have been the moment. That, and when I saw on his Facebook that he, dressed up as Hitler the one Halloween and had the swastika. I can't! I cannot! And you know what frustrates me? It's more embarrassing than anything else. It's definitely more embarrassing because it boggles my mind that I would allow myself, that I would honestly, let me not play with my hair, allow myself to develop feelings for somebody who intrinsically has something against Black people when I myself am a whole Black person. You know what I mean? But it speaks to our deservability as trans women that sometimes, and I'm sorry if I offend anyone by saying this, but sometimes as trans women, we believe that we are not deserving of quality men, and we rummage through the garbage, and we pick up any man who will be nice to us or who will validate us in some type of way, and think that that is love and think that that is approval. Whereas in fact, these men often beat us, they abuse us, they abuse us mentally, verbally, psychologically, sexually. And although I didn't go for a guy who hit me or was ashamed of me, well, although I didn't go for a guy who was aggressive towards me, the fact that he was a racist, the fact that he was part of this new wave of white supremacists should have been the thing that made me say, no, I'm not going to allow myself to be with somebody who would be like this. And never mind the fact that he hated like Muslims, he hated Islamic people. And I've grown up my entire life having Muslim friends. You know what I mean? So all of these things, he would literally say all of these things. And it got to a point where I was like, look, just with certain things, I don't want us to have certain conversations because they upset me too much. And I become emotional and it hurts me. And I would explain, you know, why him saying certain things was hurtful, why him using certain terms was offensive, why using African American vernacular was offensive. I didn't like it when he was doing it because it would be almost in a mocking kind of way. And to be fair, he'd only done that once. Look at me defend this boy. You know, sometimes as trans women, really, this speaks to our deservability. It really speaks to what we think we deserve. But push came to shove. So me and this boy were getting serious. Girl, I really need to be putting on some clown makeup. We were getting serious and I was developing feelings for him. Despite all of the abuse, the racial abuse that I was getting, you know, he obviously had characteristics that were nice and he would say nice things to me from time to time, but, you know, clown makeup. Push came to shove. We had our final argument. Now, I'm this type of way where when something is happening to me, I disassociate. I disassociate, which is very, very negative because it allows me to endure abuse for a prolonged period of time. But it also allows me to deal with like being attacked. Like I can be attacked and I can somehow deal with it and disassociate myself. Like it's this weird thing in my brain. But once I see somebody that I care about being hurt, once I see somebody who's important to me being attacked, something in my, I'm not able to disassociate. So I'm talking to Liam about Leah Bad. Now, I absolutely love Leah. Like, she is like my virtual sister, and she's somebody who I think I've related to in so many ways, and I see so much of myself in her. And even though I've never met this person, like, I legit love this person, you know what I mean? So, I was talking to Liam about this live that I was watching from Leah, and then he went off about how, oh, she only does live streams now, and he doesn't enjoy them, and this, that, and the other. And I was like, well, no, she's just telling this funny story about how she almost got killed. The story isn't actually funny, but it has a funny twist. And I was telling him the funny twist. And I made mention of the fact that, you know, she's in the game, and that's how she got into that situation. And I mean, Hell, I almost got into the game at one point. Now, me mentioning this, being as liberal as I am, sometimes I assume that everybody is okay with the things that I'm okay with. Liam goes off. He starts talking smack about, and he's spoken smack about trans women. He was also slightly transphobic. Girl, I can't. But anyways, he starts talking smack about like how trans women are just promiscuous, and then he used African American vernacular and he called us thoughts, and I lost it. And I absolutely lost it because suddenly I could see the forest through the trees. I was like, firstly, how dare you talk about Leah like that? You know nothing about her. You're not supporting her financially. You know nothing. You don't know. You don't have a clue of what it's like being a Black trans woman. So don't come up here talking all of this smack. And I hate it when these guys, especially when it comes to trans women that do porn, they'll talk smack about the women who are doing porn, but they'll still consume the porn. Make it make sense. I lost it with him. And it was at that moment where I was just kind of like, no, this can never work. Because once you come from my people, that's when I'm done with you. But you know what? I've learned from that situation, and I've learned from Liam to never settle for less than the best. Just because somebody does a romantic gesture for you doesn't mean you owe them your life. And it's important that for us as trans women, we start to look at the quality of men that we are inviting into our lives, into our space, into our hearts. And if he doesn't align 100%, you don't need to be with him. You don't need to settle for somebody who's a white supremacist. You don't have to settle for somebody who is a closeted bigot or a transphobe or a homophobe. You can have the man of your dreams, and you will. I love you. I thank you. And I really appreciate all of your support. And thank you for listening to me rant. I hope to see you all again. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and it is what it is, girl. I should have put on that clown makeup. I love you guys. Bye.